I've been thinking about a folk tale that my dad told me a few months ago when I was visiting him in Texas, and it made a really big impact in my life and how I want to raise my child. He's 4.5, and I didn't think that it would impact me as this much because when I first heard it, I thought, my God, that's kind of sick, you know? And my dad's telling me this. Anyway, it's a general story. It's, long, long time ago, there was a family in a village, mother, father, and three siblings. And the oldest boy, of course, as if you know Asian culture or most also other cultures, you know, South American culture or um, I don't know, but I'm sure, well, Middle Eastern cultures, boys are revered more than girls most of the time. And so, anyway, this boy, he was treated like a king, even though, he was just a normal village boy. And the parents gave him everything, gave him the best, you know, pieces of food, clothing. When it was cold, he got the blanket. When he was hungry, he got the extra piece of, rice cake or piece of meat or vegetable or something. And he started acting up. He started not being nice to his siblings, hitting them when they were sleeping, hitting the parents when they were sleeping. Um, doing really naughty things. When they had just a bowl of water to drink, he would topple it over and they wouldn't have any water. Just things like that. Pranks, little kid. Bad boy pranks. And the parents, even though they didn't have anything to eat sometimes, they didn't reprimand him. They didn't tell him he was a bad boy. They didn't discipline him. In fact, they did the opposite. They were even better to him. They were thinking, well, maybe he's, I don't know, he, we need to try more. I need to um, give him more. I don't know. But, he grew up to be a young man and he was still behaving, just his behavior got really bad. But, the parents were even just, they kept trying, giving him the best of everything. And then when he was in, I guess, in his 30s, his mom found out that she was dying. And her last desire was for him to visit her and to give her a kiss. He decides to come, and they're sitting around, and she tells him, "This is my last wish. I did everything for you to the best of my ability. I gave you all my love. I gave you everything I had, the best of everything." And he's like, so, right? And then she's like, "I just want one kiss from you before I die." And he agrees, and then they reach towards each other to kiss, and then he grabs her and reaches for her tongue, and he bites her tongue off. And she's bleeding, and the father's like, "What have you done? Your mother's dying," you know. And the young man, instead of feeling remorse, he starts yelling. He's like, "What have you done to me? What did you do to me? You know, you give me everything that I didn't want. You never disciplined me. You never spanked me. You never set rules for me, boundaries for me. Look how I've turned out. It's your fault." You know? And what could the parents say? What could they do now? It was too late, you know? My dad told me this story, and I was sickened by it because actually he told me this story after he yelled at my son. My son wanted to push out the screen from a window because it was raining and he wanted to feel the rain on his hands. It was no big deal. I would have let him do it. I thought it was actually quite creative that he wanted, I thought, wow, that's really poetic. He wants to touch the rain and he just wanted to push the screen out and it wasn't hard to take out. And my dad said, what are you doing? You don't have any, you don't have any manners or something like that. And hot tears came to my eyes because I was like, wow, that's overdoing it, Dad. That's just stupid for yelling at a kid because he wants to feel the, I don't think my dad knew what my son was trying to do. I think he thought my son was being naughty and wanted to just push the screen out. He didn't know that he wanted to feel the rain. So they misunderstood. And then about 10 minutes later, I'm just sitting there, and my mom's sitting next to me. We're not saying anything. My mom knows that I'm very hurt because my dad overreacted, especially when he didn't know why my son was doing this. And my mom's like, how can you tell that kind of a story in this age and time? We're in America. We're not in Korea, in a little village, you know? Why my dad was telling me the story was that you can't always give your child what he wants, what he or she wants, you know? Although he told this without understanding what really happened, I didn't care at the time that he told me. I was really upset. I mean, just my tears were just burning in my eyes, you know? And my mom was kind of like, how can you, that's a sick story. My dad was raised very strictly. I heard that he got beaten all the time, you know. Um, he got the, I'm sure, sticks, on his hands and stuff like that. And so he's like, you can't always give your children what, you can't always let them get away with things, And I'm like, you didn't understand what he was doing. I was speechless because I was so upset that he would use that kind of like this. He yelled at my son, and my son got like really scared. Anyway, I think my dad told that because he wanted to explain why he yelled, why he did that. And he did apologize. Oh, Grandpa is mean, I'm sorry. And at the time, I was like, wow, that's a really stupid, sick story, you know? And, but you know what? Day after that, the day after that, and months, it's been almost 2 months now. I've thought about this constantly about the story. It's like, God, when my son acts up or he misbehaves, I'm like, I think about that story, which is quite often because he's in kindergarten, he faces stress, different kinds of people, different kinds of modalities and methods of how, he should be doing this and that and that. It's a confusing time for children. He thinks, children thinks, the world is a playground. It really is. What it should be. Adults take it way too seriously. And I'm like, I think about that. I'm like, oh God, I need to be more strict. That story really scared me. Raising children. Although that story was extreme, I really took it to heart now. I'm like, I am more just strict with my son, and I feel better about it. I don't hit him, I don't, yell, but I set limits. And when I say something, 90% of the time, it goes my way. Sometimes I'm pretty lenient, the little things. You can't always, discipline your kid every little thing he does, because then, that's just, they're going to be like freaky when they grow up. But anyway, that was my lesson for today about how to raise your children, because I used to think just, love them and show them by example and, tell them you don't like that they're doing that, which I was doing. And sometimes I would yell at him, and sometimes I would spank his ass. But, I felt like I wasn't strict enough. And I decided to be more strict because of this story and some other things that happened. And I'm satisfied with that. Maybe my philosophy about child rearing would change or will change in the future. But for now, I'm really satisfied with having heard this story and sort of teaching my son how I understood what my dad was trying to teach me. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have anything like that to share, please write me or make a video and send me the link. Thanks.